Hello guys, this is Avcoor, and we're going to talk about Nola. I think she's an underrated character. When you stack her next to Lena, there are a few deficiencies, not much though. Not much at all really. I just hate the fact that she's crit based, but being a lightning wizard, that kind of makes sense to me. But still, I think she's good. It's just the fact that they wanted her to support the lightning faction so much. I think that takes a little bit away from her. But I'll explain why she's good and why, if you're on a budget, it's probably best to get her now. Because she is a long-term prospect. Not as long-term as Lena, but long-term. People don't think that, but they would be wrong. First of all, let's go into her stats.
수령하셔야 할 새 편지가 하나 있어요. 바람 때문에 분류해 놓은 표시가 날아가 버렸어요.
I had to listen to that. One thing we'll talk about right now is in her stats, you'll see something very impressive about her. And we'll talk about that right now and saying her physical defense is B, which is really, really good. This is one of the weaknesses of Lena as a character, is the fact that she has C physical defense. Though at B, this is one of the most shining aspects of Nola's stat line, as every other stat literally mirrors Lena herself. That's actually a good thing because she comes with a healthy magic attack at S. She has extremely good magic defense at S, and she has concentration at A, and she has B HP. So she takes hits better than most wizards, which is really impressive. So just underneath all the other crap we'll talk about, just her base stats make her really amazing. And that's why you know she's an SSR unit as opposed to being an SR unit, just based on raw stats. So her skill. This is where I have a couple of issues. Probability of critical hit with skill has a 30% increase, which honestly is meh. Why do I say it's meh? Because it's still a probability where someone like Lena gets raw magic attack increase. That's what you want to see on a wizard. Raw magic attack increase. Probability of critical hit with skill 30% increase is meh. I mean, if you put investment into it, it's good, but that level of investment is at the highest level. And at this point, we're all trying to clear content. So this isn't an instant gratification skill as it is with Lena. Excuse me. What is instant gratification is the skill range 1 increase. This is one of the defining aspects of her unique passive, which is really good, which makes her a long-term prospect. Why do I say that? Because in this type of game, range matters. And for her to be able to extend the range of a skill by 1 square is not only unique, but it is incredible. It allows you to position in such a way that she is safe. So say for instance, I'll use Gabriel. She's my favorite tank. You put Gabriel up front and then you move her 2 squares ahead and she's able to extend her reach for the AoE spell 3 squares ahead. That's devastating. That means at most, if you position right, she'll get hit. Your tank will get hit twice. And it's harder for your enemies to reach you, and also you're able to aggro safely. You can safely aggro enemies and have them move in such a way that you take control. It's kind of like Lena, but sort of kind of different, as Lena is an attacker that runs back to safety. she's an attacker that extends beyond herself. And if it wasn't for the skill range 1 increase, she'd be a little subpar. And I actually like her as a character, but you have to make that critical assessment. But her skills are really good, and her leadership passive is good. So first thing first, she has, for whatever reason, she comes with a chance of crit by 12%, which you can stack on top of your skill, and it's cumulative. So, but yeah, there's other things she would like to run though. But this is actually good if you want to make a crit build. And it only costs 1. Extremely important for crit build. So, Thunderstorm. This is her AoE. And of course, Current actually increases the chance to receive critical damage. So, kind of like Lena, she's actually spec'd in a certain way. So, the idea of this character was she's the linchpin of lightning-based teams, and you'll see her skills reflect that because applying current to units actually makes her very synergistic with Seminar to the point where if I had the resources, I really would like to get this character because I use Seminar a lot, and she actually assists Seminar in a Seminar in a lot of ways because of her ability to apply the status effect. Mad Thunder. The cooldown is kind of whatever. You inflict damage. I don't know what this on the ship. The skill every time I do damage to the meeting, the cooldown. It's an AOE skill, but they say it actually increases turns. I don't really understand how it works because I personally do not have the character. Yeah, we'll actually go in. Let's go and actually find out what that skill does. We're gonna actually look up this skill and what it does. We're gonna find out. Okay, you deal 1.5 magic damage to enemies in range. Each time the skill deals critical damage, decreases the cooldown of the skill by 1. Now that's kind of interesting. So that's interesting to me.
수령하셔야 할 새 편지가 하나 있어요. 바람 때문에 분류해 놓은 표시가 날아가.
So every time you deal a crit, it actually decreases the turn. That's actually feasible. I just don't think it's as practical as some of her other skills. This is where she kind of falls off from me. Yeah, because that kind of sucks. Maybe, yeah, I don't like that. Wow, this is decent. Wow, okay, yeah. So yeah, that's pretty good. If you use this skill during this turn, 3 lowest HP allies within 1 turn once enemy current to a single ally. Okay, yeah, so we gotta actually, this translation is really bad. So let's go again to the to the skill section and prove it in. We'll call it. I actually read this before, and it's hard for me to coordinate between the English translation and the Korean translation, which is not really good. But this is actually a solid passive, and you probably will want this on her more than her other passives, because the ability to move a person away from you who actually gets close to you as an enemy is pretty unique. So this shock passive is pretty good. So let's jump back into the game. So hopefully the translations are better. Alright, we're back into her basic skill set. So let's look at her leadership passive. So her leadership passive requires 2 lightning units, which is fine because you have Simi and you have, excuse me, you have Richard, and they complement her really well. So it's not hard for you to activate this leadership skill. And it actually increases the probability of your critical hit, which is really good. In fact, it's kind of sad that it requires 2 lightning units because it's pretty versatile. That's pretty versatile, especially if you have DPS, and yeah, DPS really benefit from that, especially a 50% in active attack critical hit. Yeah, that's pretty solid. There's better leadership skills, but for what you're asking her to do is lead a lightning team. She actually applies current, and then she actually increases the potential to crit. So that's a big crit swing. So, but it's so codependent on your team construction. You really have to think about the characters that you put around her in order to maximize the use of this leadership skill. It's not so simple to use, so that kind of sucks. But when we see like characters really, like players really start developing their teams, this will actually come alive. So it's not all bad. It just takes a lot of construction in order to maximize it. This is a really good passive when using the skilled magic attack. This is solid. That's really solid. Yeah, this is really solid. This is super solid. I think this is between this one and this one. Yeah, this is the best one right here because you get an immediate increase in attack power, and that's something she really needs. Fire lightning arrow single target, dealing 1.5 damage, do damage to the ship, and after battle, teleport next to a random ally within the compartment. That's really good. Excuse me, that's super versatile. So you can actually overextend her, and then she warps back into safety. That's super solid. Yeah, that's extremely solid. Wow, that's good. Wow, that's good. That is super good because you do damage, and at the battle, you teleport next to a random ally. You can actually control that because you can actually bunch up your units around your tank. So that's a really good. You can really control that. So for me, someone who plays the game like me, it's run her forward, attack, have the have your tank and all the rest of your characters in range, and then you teleport back. And it has a 2 turn cooldown, so you can watch and repeat that. So battles usually last 7 to 8 turns, even in PvE content, which is even in PvP. I think she's extremely viable because she can extend the range. So in both contents, you're looking at 8 to 7 turns, so that's pretty good. Let's see what her ultimate is. Fires lightning arrow at a single target, dealing 1.6 speed damage to all enemies. Inflicts current, which is pretty good. The damage done to the object of condition 50% increase. Okay, corresponding skill cooldown for treatment, turn reduction, lethal move. Okay, so when she crits, she drops this. Wow, that's pretty good. This is an overall really solid kit. I mean, there's some weaknesses in it, but overall it's pretty solid. You just have to, like with Lena, you don't have to put that much thought into the team, but you have to put a little more thought into this team. Because remember, there is no Charlotte and there is no Lohaness. There is another healer here, but I haven't seen anybody use her yet. I haven't found a way to get her. And I've been trying to roll to see if I can get her, but I haven't been able to get her. So let's talk about that character and the team that you would like to build around her. There are characters that actually benefit from Nola.
새로운 세계, 새로운
So let's talk about main character. Main character actually benefits from Nola as he likes to crit, and he actually has a current passive that induces current. So this is one of the characters that you will start to see green teams built around. As he carries his own leadership skill. Sorry guys, leadership skill. Nola leadership skill actually benefits him more in a green based team, because later on you'll start to see all of us start building teams of mono color. So that's coming, and you'll see Nola's value increase when that happens. Another character she likes to roll with is Seminar.
술 대결을 하고 싶다고?
I think her and Seminar actually benefit each other pretty well. Seminar likes to have increased crit damage potential, because once she crits, a lot of stuff happens for her. That's what her kit is based around, and Nola provides that for her. So if you have Nola or if you have Seminar, you pretty much want the other one. I really do want to pick up Nola, but I don't know. I'm not rich, so anyway. Armad is another consideration if you can't afford Nola,
치유하기 힘든 병이야.
because he does benefit
내게
from crit,
관심을 가져.
but he's significantly
언젠가는
weaker than Seminar.
별빛처럼 빛나게 될 거라고.
And even Helson,
네가 본 그대로
he's a very weak character.
장공호의 함정이다.
And compared to other characters, he's weak. And he would love for another character to justify his existence. So keep that in mind. And like I said, I don't see the healer here. There's a green healer, but I do not see her, which kind of sucks. There was a green healer, but I guess she's not in the game yet, so I won't talk about her. I'm only going to talk about the characters that we do have. And so let's talk about Richard.
기사의 영광은 세월에 퇴색되지 않는다.
Excuse me.
그대는 나
Richard's actually a
레오나트가
PvP tank,
길고 기다려온 동료인가?
and he actually benefits from Nola. As even though he comes with his own leadership skill, he actually can benefit from Nola's leadership skill, because as a tank, he's always looking for ways to increase his damage output, and Nola provides a way for him to do that. And he is a tank, and tanks are highly valued, especially if they are SSR of a color that is rarely used. Like, there's only one green SSR tank, and that's Richard currently right now. So he benefits. They both benefit from each other. So consider him when you're building a team, that both of them really help each other. Keep it short. Erica actually benefits from Nola, as she likes to have crit damage. So keep that in mind, that Nola, and she is light, so she doesn't have elements of weakness. And when you're building teams with two extra characters that are of one color, light characters actually help you filter out the weaknesses. So consider Erica as a extremely useful character to her. Ivan is actually good because he likes someone to help him increase Chris. Any ranger character like Michael, Ivan Attar.
이 흠매왕의 어전에서 단언하려면
Who else?
내 인내심이 바닥나기 전에 끝내는 게 좋을 것이다.
Leia is actually pretty solid.
내 앞에서
And Leia is different
굉장히
because
그
you can actually
배짱이
flip her
있는
around,
건가?
and she can actually use her team leader skill, because Nola is a female, so Layla helps out there, and so does Clarice. As being a female, they actually work well together because they're all crit based attackers. So when you're looking at Nola, look at all those things, and you'll see that she has some functionality, some utility, but you actually have to think about the team that you're
달달리온
building.
메신저 놀라입니다.
So let's look at her equipment and her runes, and we'll end the video there.
아비와 파엘,
Nola's pretty weird
등대의 인도로
as
당신 곁에 왔습니다.
she uses staff, so
모든 과거는 불타.
her equipment will sort of look like this. You want magic attack on her, but you also want to have high concentration. Excuse me. So with her rune set, we want the. Let me go here to Lena. You actually want the copper cane as your 4-slot rune that you have 4 of. That's a definite. It's a no-brainer there because you increase your magic attack by 5%, which he needs. You increase the damage done by 10% when using skills, and increases damage done by 5% when using range skills. So all these mechanics work to her benefit. So there's no questioning that part. Things get different when you start looking at her +2. So let me go here. Okay. So she would like Gladiator. Gladiator actually increases her critical hit probability by 7%, which is super important. So instead of having clocks here, you would want copper cane, and you actually would want the gladiator rune, because you're increasing her critical hit probability, and that is combined with her unique passive. So her aptitude to get crits actually increases should be by 37%. So let's go back to our passive real quick.
반달리온 메신저 놀라입니다.
Okay,
수령하셔야
with the
할
skill.
새
So
편지가 하나 있어요.
that's literally 37%
바람
right
때문에
there.
분류해놓은 표시가 날아가 버렸어요. 돌아와 민들레야.
Oh wow. That's actually 37%, but when you look at her concentration, you can bump up her concentration to the point where when she hits with a skill, it literally is a coin flip, because your concentration actually produces every 6 points produces crit, 1 point of crit. So she's already starting with a good pool of crit potential. So once you stack on 30%, once you stack on 7%, you can easily get to 50% crit potential on her skill attacks, which is pretty insane. So her damage output starts to look totally different than what you expect. So my advice with this character is you really need to start learning the basics of character building in order to maximize her stats to get the most out of her. But when you do, she turns into an incredible character. To the ability to extend your skill range beyond the normal 2 with the skill is pretty important. It's kind of what made Lana so good in Langresser, that when she used a skill, she attacked 3 squares instead of 2, and Nola has that built into her kit. So keep that in mind when using this character. Her long-term potential in PvE is really good. So you won't waste your resources actually getting this character. I'm actually going to try to get this character. I would prefer to have her over the new healer. I already have the Dark Wizard. So with her, I would have a Fire Wizard, a Lightning Wizard, a Dark Wizard, and a Water Wizard, and I'd be done with wizards. I only need a Light Wizard, and the SSR version of the Light Wizard hasn't come out yet, so I wouldn't have to worry about it. But anyways, if you like my content, hit the like, share, and subscribe button. I'll get back to you. Have a great day, and goodbye.